My sisters, let me tell you something. The strongest women you see walking today didn't get that strength from comfort. They got it from storms. They didn't get their confidence from applause. They got it from rejection. They didn't get their power from everything going right. They got it from God breaking them down, molding them, reshaping them into the kind of vessel He could use. See, we live in a world where everybody wants the blessing, but nobody wants the breaking. But the truth is, God can't use a woman He can't first shape, and shaping doesn't always feel good. Breaking doesn't always feel fair, but breaking is necessary because when God breaks you, He's not destroying you, He's preparing you. God breaks to remove what you can't carry. When a woman carries too much, even the strongest back will eventually bend. Sometimes God looks at you and says, "Daughter, you're holding onto things that will break you later, so let me break them off you now." You might think you're losing people, but really, God is just lightening your load. Some friendships, some relationships, some circles were never meant to walk with you into your destiny. When you lose something, you cry. When you lose someone, it hurts. But if you could see the weight that God just lifted, you'd thank Him for breaking it away. Carrying bitterness, carrying shame, carrying trauma. It will crush your soul. God knows what you can't carry, so He begins a breaking process that separates you from it. Sometimes God doesn't just subtract, He subtracts violently. He'll shake the table, remove the chairs, and leave you standing with nothing but Him. It feels unfair when it happens, but you don't realize yet. He's removing the things you thought were necessary, but would have been toxic to your future. Some women cry over doors God closed, not realizing those doors led to dead ends. That's why the breaking hurt, but it saved you. You didn't lose a job, you lost a distraction. You didn't lose a man, you lost a delay. You didn't lose a friend, you lost a snake. God doesn't want you limping into your promised land with extra baggage. He wants you running free. You can't walk into destiny with hands still holding chains. So He breaks the chains, and yes, your hands might bleed, but you're finally free. Every removal is actually a rescue. You might not see it today, but give it time. You'll look back and say, "That break saved my life." A pruning season is always painful, but pruning is how growth happens. A tree never complains when the gardener cuts, because it knows fruit is coming. God doesn't break because He's angry. He breaks because He sees further than you. He knows what will hold you back in the next chapter. If He didn't remove it, it would have removed you. That's why you must trust the breaking. When He breaks what you can't carry, He's saying, "Daughter, I want you light, strong, and ready to win." God breaks to humble and rebuild. Every woman has moments where pride sneaks in. You think you've got it all figured out. Then life hits, and suddenly you realize how small you are without Him. Humility doesn't come from success, it comes from struggle. Struggle reminds you that you're human, and that's where God steps in. When everything is working, you can get comfortable. But when God breaks you, He humbles you and brings you back to the place where you remember who holds your future. Brokenness is where humility lives. And humility is what makes you usable in God's hands. Some women won't pray until life gets hard. Some won't listen until everything around them falls apart. That's why breaking is sometimes the only way to get your attention. When God breaks your plans, He's not punishing you. He's humbling you so He can give you a better blueprint. A strong woman who forgets humility becomes dangerous to herself. That's why God pulls her back down to her knees, so she remembers where her strength comes from. Humility is not weakness, it's power under control. It's being able to rise without arrogance and to shine without forgetting the source. Breaking humbles you so your ego doesn't destroy your blessing later. Because pride can make you lose what prayer could have protected. Sometimes God lets embarrassment happen so you don't walk into pride. He lets failure hit so you don't worship success. Humility doesn't mean you think less of yourself. It means you know your greatness came from him. God doesn't rebuild on shaky ground. He breaks the foundation, humbles the ground, then lays something firm you can stand on forever. The woman who has been broken is often the wisest, because she knows glory doesn't belong to her. It belongs to God. When you're rebuilt after breaking, you walk with gratitude, not arrogance. You shine, but you don't brag, you inspire. That's why breaking is necessary. So humility lives in you, and pride dies before it can destroy you. God breaks to teach dependence on him. Sometimes life looks like it's falling apart, just so you'll remember to lean on God instead of leaning on people. God will allow your support system to fail, so you learn that your only real support is him. He'll let the job end, the money dry up, or the relationship collapse, so you see that he's your provider, not them. Dependence on people will disappoint you every time, but dependence on God will never fail. The breaking is a classroom where God teaches trust, and trust isn't learned when life is easy. It's learned when life is uncertain. Some of the most powerful prayers you've ever prayed only came because of brokenness. When things were good, you whispered. When things broke, you cried out. Dependence doesn't mean weakness. It means wisdom. It means you're smart enough to know you can't do this alone. God sometimes breaks your plan, so you'll realize he was the only plan all along. When he removes the crutches, he's showing you, daughter, stand with me, not with them. Dependence on him gives you peace that doesn't even make sense. You'll be smiling when everything around you is shaking, because you know who holds you. In breaking seasons, you learn to ask, God, what are you teaching me? Instead of, why me? Dependence makes you stronger, not weaker. Because when you lean on him, you're tapping into supernatural strength, not your limited one. A woman who depends on God cannot be destroyed. Storms may hit, but she won't sink. The more he breaks, the deeper your faith grows, and the more powerful your spirit becomes. Breaking is simply God saying, daughter, lean on me. I'll carry you where no one else can. God breaks to give you a new identity. Sometimes you've been walking around with labels that life stuck on you. People called you too much, not enough, broken, or damaged, and you started to believe it. But God cannot use a woman who sees herself through the wrong lens. That's why he breaks old identities. He removes the false labels so he can give you a new name. Think about it. If you never went through breaking, you'd still think you are who they said you were. But once life breaks you, you learn who you really are. A new identity requires a shedding of the old one, and shedding never feels comfortable. It feels like loss, but it's really transformation. God looks at you and says, you're not a failure, you're chosen. You're not abandoned, you're appointed. You're not broken, you're being built. A woman who has been broken and rebuilt carries a different kind of power. She walks different, she speaks different, she believes different. When you lose everything you thought defined you, God gets to step in and define you himself. Some women think the breaking means God has rejected them. But the truth is, it means he's about to rename them. Your new identity isn't something people can take away. It's rooted in who God says you are. Old names like divorced, unworthy, or forgotten don't hold weight when God calls you daughter, healed, and chosen. Sometimes God breaks you to remove the costumes you've been hiding behind. He strips away everything false so the real you can shine. Breaking is a rebirth. It feels like dying, but what really dies is the lie you've believed about yourself. Once he gives you a new identity, you won't walk like you used to. You won't settle like you used to. You won't talk like you used to. Breaking is God saying, you thought you were that, but let me show you who you really are. The woman he'll use always has a new identity, because she survived the breaking and came out brand new. God breaks to reveal hidden strength. Some of the strength inside you won't come out until pressure hits. Diamonds are made under pressure, and so are strong women. God already knows what's inside you, but you don't. Breaking is how He reveals to you just how tough you really are. You never thought you could make it through heartbreak, but you did. You never thought you could survive betrayal, but you did. You never thought you could rebuild after loss, but here you are. Strength doesn't show up in comfort. It shows up in chaos. Breaking is the gym where your spirit is trained. Some women discover their courage only after everything falls apart. That's because courage isn't needed when life is easy. It's needed when life is dark. Breaking teaches you that you're not fragile, you're resilient. You're not weak, you're a warrior. God will allow you to go through storms so that you finally see you were built to handle them. Every tear you cried was proof that pain didn't kill you. It made you stronger. Hidden strength doesn't come out through applause. It comes out through adversity. A woman who's been broken and survived walks with authority because she knows what she carries inside. God didn't break you to crush you. He broke you to show you what you're really made of. Sometimes breaking isn't punishment, it's discovery. Discovery of gifts, resilience, wisdom, and power you never thought you had. The breaking season is the birthplace of your strongest self. Without the breaking, you'd still think you're ordinary. But the breaking showed you that you're extraordinary. The woman He uses is never the same after the storm, because the storm unlocked her hidden strength. God breaks to purify your heart. Life has a way of leaving dirt on your heart. Betrayal leaves bitterness. Disappointment leaves anger. Loss leaves resentment. God knows He can't use a heart that's poisoned, so He allows breaking to wash out the bitterness, anger, and resentment. Purification isn't easy. It burns, it hurts, it takes time, but it leaves you cleaner, lighter, and freer. Some women are carrying grudges they don't even realize are blocking their blessings. Breaking exposes those grudges. When everything falls apart, you start realizing what you've been holding inside. That's when God begins the work of cleansing. A purified heart can love again. A purified heart can forgive again. A purified heart can trust again. Breaking forces you to confront the things you've buried. You can't heal what you don't face, so God brings it to the surface. He doesn't break you to shame you. He breaks you to heal you. A pure heart is powerful. It can't be manipulated. It can't be bought. It can't be broken by people's opinions. God breaks to remove toxic attachments, bad habits, and hidden pride that sneak into the heart. It hurts to let go, but holding onto poison is worse. That's why breaking is necessary. Once your heart is purified, your spirit can breathe again. You feel peace where there used to be pain. You laugh differently when your heart is clean. You love differently. You live differently. Purification is not punishment, it's preparation. Preparation for blessings too pure to be received with a toxic heart. Breaking purifies so that when He uses you, nothing inside you will block the flow of His power. God breaks to position you for purpose. Sometimes your plans don't match God's purpose, and when they don't, He breaks your plans so He can align you with His. Positioning often feels like loss, but it's really redirection. You think you're being pushed backward, but you're really being set up. God can't use you in the wrong place. That's why He'll break doors, close opportunities, and move you where you belong. Breaking positions you like a chess piece. He moves you strategically for victory. Every rejection is just redirection. You thought they pushed you out, but really God pulled you into alignment. Purpose doesn't live in comfort zones. That's why breaking drags you out of comfort and into calling. Some women wouldn't chase their purpose if their old life never fell apart. Breaking forced them to move. God will make you uncomfortable until you finally step into what He called you to do. Positioning often feels painful in the moment, but necessary in the long run. Think about it. Some of your biggest breakthroughs came after your biggest breakdowns. God breaks your plans so His purpose can live, and His purpose is always greater than your plan. A broken season often pushes you exactly where you were meant to be. Destiny doesn't start until you let go of control. That's why He breaks your grip on your own way. Breaking is positioning disguised as pain. When He positions you, everything aligns. What looked like destruction was really direction. God breaks to make your testimony powerful. A testimony without a test is just a story. But a woman who has been broken carries a testimony that can set others free. God doesn't waste your pain. Every tear you cried, every trial you endured, it all becomes part of your testimony. When you speak after breaking, people listen differently. They know you're not talking theory. You're talking survival. Your testimony is the evidence that God is real. That's why He allows breaking. It gives you proof to carry. A woman who has been through fire and didn't burn, through storms and didn't drown, has a voice that can shake nations. God allows you to be broken so that later, when you tell your story, people see His glory. Pain is temporary, but testimony is eternal. Your story lives on, inspiring people you may never even meet. Every time you share how you made it through, you give someone else permission to believe they can too. The breaking season wasn't just for you. It was for the people who would hear your testimony later. Some women suffer in silence, waiting for someone to prove survival is possible. That's why your story matters. A testimony gives power to your words. You're not just talking, you're teaching from experience. God doesn't give easy lives to the women He uses. He gives them powerful testimonies. Your scars are proof of survival, not shame. They are reminders that you didn't just make it. You grew through it. Testimonies turn pain into purpose. They turn breaking into building. They turn tragedy into triumph. When God breaks you, He's not just writing your story. He's writing a testimony that will inspire generations. Ladies, hear me well. God doesn't break to destroy, He breaks to build. He doesn't break to punish, He breaks to prepare. Every tear you cried, every door that slammed, every heart that shattered, it wasn't wasted. It was part of the process. The women God uses are not the ones who had it easy. They're the ones who got up after being knocked down. They're the ones who found peace after heartbreak. They're the ones who discovered purpose after pain. The breaking was never about weakness. It was about strength. It was about shaping you into someone who could handle blessings, carry responsibility, and walk with authority. Think about it. A diamond doesn't shine until it's cut. Gold isn't pure until it's refined by fire. And a woman isn't truly powerful until she's been broken and rebuilt by God's hands. That's why you can't despise the breaking. You can't curse the season where it feels like everything is falling apart. Because it's in that season God is setting you up for something greater than you could ever imagine. The woman God uses doesn't look like she never struggled. She looks like she survived the struggle. And that survival makes her unstoppable. So if you're in a breaking season right now, don't give up. Don't quit. Don't think it's the end of your story. This is just the chapter where God takes everything apart so He can rebuild you into the masterpiece He always intended. The breaking was necessary. The breaking was preparation. The breaking was proof that you're chosen. And when God is done with you, the same people who thought you were finished will watch you rise stronger, wiser, and more powerful than ever. Because the truth is, God breaks the woman He'll use. And if He's breaking you, that means He's about to use you in ways that will blow your mind.